Hello, friends. Welcome to the Logistics of Logistics podcast. My name is Joe Lynch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is a very special day because I am in New Orleans at the Trimble Insight Tech Conference. It's a mouthful. And I'm, even more importantly, I'm here with my friend Shaman Ahuja. And today's topic is the Optym Advantage, smarter routing, planning, and decision-making with my friend Shaman Ahuja. How's it going, Shaman?
It is going great. Loving it here.
Thank you so much. So, Shaman, please introduce yourself and your company, what you guys normally do. I'm sorry, I was going to say I was going to say where you're calling from today, but I know where you're calling from. You're in New Orleans. What you guys do?
Yeah, happy to. So, hello everybody. My name is Shaman Ahuja. I'm the deputy CEO and head of our truckload division at Optym. Optym has been around over 25 years. We specialize in optimization and AI, basically how do we better route and schedule the assets that we have? We operate across different modes of transportation, whether it's rail, airline, trucking, and both LTL and full truckload.
Very nice, very nice. So I know I was talking to you on the way over here. We were at the same hotel. And what you guys do is different so I know Trimble has like a routing tool, mapping tool. This is different.
Yes.
How is that different than when somebody says, "Oh, I have a routing tool"? They
Yes.
probably don't have what you guys are selling.
Right. So if I say routing, people will think like turn-by-turn navigation or
Right.
like what is the best truck route
Right.
between point A and point B. So thank you for clarifying. That is not what we do. Ours is more, hey, I have a driver. Which load do I assign that driver? Which load do I offer him after that first load? So basically creating the route for that driver, or some companies call it the plan. What is the plan for that driver for this week? Not only just doing, hey, first let's do Bob, then do Jane, and just go down the list. We actually like to consider all the drivers and all the various constraints associated with that driver, balancing both the customer's needs as well as the drivers.
So who are your customers?
So we generally operate, like I mentioned, across modes of transportation, but on the trucking side, specifically full truckload, we're looking at, I would say, enterprise fleets. So the lower bound would likely be around 200 trucks. Once you have sufficient scale where you need an optimizer because there's just more juice to squeeze.
Yep. It's an interesting problem that you guys are solving because it's a little higher level than just routing. So if I had one truck, I worry all about routing.
Yes.
How do I get from Chicago to Atlanta? If I have 200 trucks, I have to worry about how do I make money on all these different lanes? How do I avoid having drivers sitting around or trucks underutilized? Is that one way to look at this?
That's exactly how you look at it. And there's a lot of different problems that contribute to, I would say, lack of efficiency. It's not simply just, okay, sequencing loads or deciding which ones to relay. There's also aspects of, all right, whenever I'm bidding on like freight, which lanes do I bid? Which customers do I contact? How do I rate it? So there's the network design piece, which is like kind of is the backbone of your network. And then there's the execution piece, which is when you actually get that tender and when that truck actually needs to be at that shipper.
Yep. We'll get into more detail about this because I think this is let's face it, we have problems in the trucking business. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of companies not making enough money. And it's horrible for the whole economy that we have a segment that is struggling so mightily. You're not going to ultimately have a good supply chain if we can't have successful trucking companies.
Right.
Well, we'll get to more detail about that in a minute. Mm-hmm. First, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Some career highlights before you joined the juggernaut that is Optym.
Yeah, so I was actually born in India. So Optym was actually founded by my dad. So it's very much a family business. My brother's in the company. We moved to the States when I was 5, so born in 89. So let's say 94. Aged myself right there. But it's funny, whenever I wanted to move here, I didn't want to move here because I was afraid that I would make no friends because I didn't speak the language. And like 30 plus years later, I've actually forgotten Hindi. So it's ironic that the thing that I was afraid of actually happened on the other side. But yeah, so came to the States. My dad was a professor originally teaching in IIT Kanpur, which is a highly renowned university in India. Then gets a job at MIT, highly
Not too
renowned,
shabby.
not too shabby. Actually writes a textbook there called Network Flows, still being taught today. But we just hated the cold in Boston. So
It's not for Indians.
definitely not for Indians.
Although there's a lot over there.
Very true, but we just couldn't handle it. Like one winter, we're like, this is it. Then we're like, okay, where can we go? He's looking at different opportunities. Urbana-Champaign, similar cold problem. Georgia Tech, and eventually ends up settling in Florida, University of Florida.
Oh, that's a good school too.
Yeah, it's a great school. So he teaches there for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, but he realized that like the academia or like the tech or the theory that he's teaching isn't really going anywhere. It basically doesn't go outside the walls of the classroom. And then me, I'm in middle school. I don't really care because I'm like, you don't really think about what you're going to do in middle school. Right around high school is where I'm like trying to figure out which route do I want to go. I knew I just wanted to make money. As a kid, I was like, I want to make money. Dad, which like industry do I go in that could make me the most money? He says, go into computers. There's money in computers. Little did I know that at that time, he's actually transitioning from university to starting a tech company. So selfishly, he's going to have a son that's going to graduate with a computer science degree that will basically be well positioned to actually contribute to the company.
Did you go to Florida?
I did not. I actually hated Gainesville, so I wanted to get the hell out. So basically, whatever my dad loved about it, like that small town feel, is what I disliked about it.
That's what kids do.
Yeah.
So did you work anywhere else before you joined Optym?
I did. Yeah. So I went to school in Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's a great school.
Yeah. No, I was at probably the hardest 4 years of my life because I went in without knowing any like programming experience. Did that for 4 years. I minored in computational finance and then ended up working at Goldman Sachs. So I worked there for about 4 years. And then about halfway through decided I wanted to keep my soul. Then decided, okay, what do I want to do next? Right around that same time, Optym was getting into the airline space, which I found a lot more fascinating. Till date, Optym had only really operated in rail. So that's where we started. For the first 10 years, remained in rail. And then we started engaging with Southwest Airlines, which was our first and largest airline customer. And my dad's like, do you want to be kind of the primary on that account? And then, so I was like, yes. So left finance, moved back to Gainesville from New York. That was a tough transition. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Very nice, very nice. So one of the things I was thinking about before we hit the record button is what you guys sell is...
You haven't hit the record button yet?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
What I struggle with sometimes with when I talk to companies like yours that are, I think the class of business you're in, you guys have been around for 25 years, but most trucking companies aren't using it. Am I right to say that?
That's very true.
So what would be, you guys have sales guys, so they're calling on these trucking companies. What reasons are they finally answering the phone and saying, yeah, Shaman, please help us?
Yeah. So
what are some of the symptoms that you guys are coming in to solve?
So there's actually multiple answers to that. So there's a reason that most trucking companies aren't, or at least full truckload companies aren't using our optimization solution, is because for the first few years, we weren't going to market with an optimization product. We were going to market with a TMS. So we got into the space. We had a TMS called Axle, which we then later rebranded to LoadOps. And that was really sticky in the small to medium segment. Like really like 20 trucks is where like we had traction. But our ultimate goal was to bring optimization to this segment. But we realized that data was a challenge. And we're like, oh, let's just build a TMS, own the data, create a solid data foundation so that we could optimize and get better results through optimization. We say garbage in, garbage out. So that was kind of our strategy. But we later realized that although a lot of fleets will complain about their TMS, the larger ones are very reluctant to actually switch. Won't make the jump over just because it's so disruptive to their operations.
It's tough.
It's so deeply ingrained that you just won't do it. So then it's like, okay, then we did a shift in strategy. We're like, all right, let's move away from the TMS. Also, it kind of hurt our ability to partner with companies like Trimble because we would have a competing product. And ultimately, that wasn't our goal. We didn't want to create a TMS. The TMS was a means to an end to offer optimization. So we did that pivot about 2 years ago. and then started going live with their Load AI solution summer of last year. So this is a very new solution. And then we started hiring salespeople, 2 of whom you met on the bus.
Yep.
So both of them have been with us like less than 6 weeks. So we're really kind of like putting our foot to the pedal to like go guns blazing and seeking partnerships with the likes of Trimble, McLeod, Mastery, basically anybody that markets to that same segment.
Yep. It feels as if our industry, we had the TMS, and for a minute it felt like, there it is. That's the solution to everything. Mm-hmm. And now there's a whole bunch of different layers and different, I'll call them the killer apps, whether it's visibility or pricing, factoring. Everybody's kind of connecting to that TMS. Now it almost feels like WordPress to me, where you say,
yes,
WordPress is the framework and I have all sorts of solutions within it. But for Optym, this is just me thinking out loud, the things that they're waking up in the night thinking about are, we're not making enough money.
Yep.
I have trucks that are not utilized properly. I'm losing money somehow, and I'm not sure how, because my trucks are moving. And I think this is a really complex math problem that we've traditionally said, we'll do it on the whiteboard, and we'll do it on paper, and then maybe hoping that your routing software somehow gives you, but the routing software is really more about an individual load, not about how do I make my fleet work better.
Right. And once you start to layer on the actual complexities of the business, it's like, do you do relays? So you might have a network where I have a set of local drivers that only do dray-like operations, and then I have over-the-road drivers. So now I have to consider that variable as well.
So talk about what a relay is for people who don't do it every day.
Yes. So a relay is basically, it's treated like a relay when you're handing off the trailer. So a use case is maybe you have a fleet of local drivers that just kind of operate within a 200-mile radius.
They're home every night.
They're home every night, yeah. So they'll go to a customer location, bring that loaded trailer to the yard, or maybe take an empty trailer that's sitting at a customer location, bring it to another customer location so that customer could preload it. And then you have the over-the-road guys that don't want to have to deal with that. They really just want to go to the yard, hitch the trailer, and then drive 1,000 miles across the country. So a relay is basically just that handoff of one driver takes their tractor, like hitches a loaded or empty trailer, drops it off at one location, and then another driver comes with their tractor, picks it up, and then takes it the rest of the way.
I've heard people say things like this, that they had a driver who was picking up, let's just say, down in Atlanta, and then they're driving to Chicago. And the other guy's going from Chicago down to Atlanta, and they meet halfway, switch trucks. Back. That's also considered a relay, right?
Yes, it is. So we call that a specialized case of relay called meet and turns.
Oh, meet and turn. All right, there's a new one.
Yeah.
Meet and turn. So
you meet at a specific location. It doesn't even have to be a secure yard. It could just meet at some like fuel stop or a gas station, and then exchange loads, and then head the opposite way. And if you were really smart with your scheduling, and this is where we like ultimately want to take the industry, you could actually have like 100% utilizations and drivers home every night if you strategically place them in like key locations throughout the country and set up this relay meet and turn network.
Somebody said this to me years ago on my podcast, and I use it as an example all the time now. Is they said, Joe, what if you and I ran a surgery center? We had a whole bunch of surgeons working for us. How would we run it? I guess we'd have the surgeons do nothing but surgeries.
Yep.
And there'd be no meetings for them. There'd be no paperwork for them except to sign. And we would really try and streamline their day. So they come in, and if 15 surgeries is the maximum amount of surgeries you can do, they do 15 surgeries every day.
Right.
And they maximize their income. They maximize our income. Life is good. He said, now how do we run our trucking companies? And he said, now you might say, well, truckers don't make the same amount of money as a surgeon. Yeah. But he says, but the truck isn't worth anything if it's not moving.
Absolutely.
And so we need to start looking, and I think we've heard people say there's a truck driver shortage, but more likely we have a utilization problem.
100%. So oftentimes we find that, let's start with, forget about like figuring out which load a driver should take. Even just coming up with accurate ETAs is a challenge. When is my truck expected to get there? And is that an efficient like use of the driver's time? Maybe he gets there and he has to wait 13 hours to actually unload. So that's 13 hours of wasted time for the driver. Now, if you could accurately predict ahead of time that, yeah, he's going to get there 13 hours earlier, guess what? Maybe reschedule the appointment so that now that 13 hours goes to just 0 minutes of wasted utilization. So now you've actually not actually changed the plan at all, but with better visibility to like what's going to happen before it happens, you can actually get ahead of that problem. So, and then that's also where you can start to use things like AI agents, where you have this intelligence that's saying, hey, you're expected to get here, let's say 14 hours before your appointment. Now, why don't I say, hey, anytime that threshold is more than 6 hours, use this AI agent to call the shipper, the consignee, and try to like book a new appointment.
Right. You know, another issue, and I've heard this recently, the guys from Project 61, I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Mm-mm.
I think they're here. I think his name's Jeremy Renner.
Wait, any relation to Project 44?
Nope. Project 61 is the average truck driver is dying at 61 years old.
Okay.
And it's because of the lifestyle they have is a difficult one. And when I had them on the podcast not so long ago, they said the average truck driver is sleeping like 5 hours a night in the cab, which is not nearly enough to be hauling freight across the country.
Right.
So
why is that?
Well, I suspect it's because of some of the inefficiencies we've just talked about.
Yeah.
We're putting drivers in a bad position on a regular basis. So, you know, there's the discourteous part, which is I'm supposed to drop off at a facility and then pick up my next load. And unfortunately, I got delayed at your house. So I can't get to my next load. And again, I think a lot of times drivers find themselves planning, then getting on the road, planning again, planning, and so the plan keeps changing, and then at some point they're sleeping in a parking lot, sometimes unsecured.
Yeah.
And if I had to sleep in a truck overnight, I might not sleep well. I slept at a beautiful hotel last night, but it was my first night in. I didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a whole bunch of challenges that we put on the driver.
No, absolutely.
But then also the higher level is the trucking companies. And you guys are working with trucking companies, at least 200 trucks?
Yeah, on the LTL side, we have some as large as 10,000 trucks. So I would say we're probably the market leader on LTL, but we've been in the LTL space about 15 years. So
talk about drop and hook. Do you guys recommend drop and hook? Is that a part of the solution?
It is, yeah. So we have the ability to define locations, specify which ones you can treat as yards, secure yards, or other ones where they're not secured, but you can do that meet and turn is what we call it.
So talk about what is a drop and hook for people who don't do it every day, and then what's the advantage?
Well, drop and hook for us is the exact same thing as a relay. So I just use those interchangeably. So you're dropping the trailer and then hooking the trailer. So
So the nice thing about it is rather than a live unload or a live load, you're just dropping a trailer off and say, Shaman, I don't care if your team unloads that over the next week. I'm going to come pick it up next Wednesday. It'll be full. I don't have to wait.
Oh, yes. So you're talking about like preload and drop trailer. Yes. So that is also another attribute or capability that we handle. And then there's a new model that we're working on, which is like repositioning and rebalancing these trailer pools. So oftentimes you have fleets that have, let's say, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1 trailers to tractors. So I have, let's say, 500 tractors and 2,500 trailers. And I do that to make life easier for my customers. So I can say, hey, I'm going to drop off these trailers, fill them up on your own time. And then whenever it's ready, you let me know. And it also makes it easier from a scheduling perspective because you don't have a fixed appointment, right? You're saying it's ready tomorrow at 4 p.m. Maybe I pick it up the next day at like 2 p.m. So like I have flexibility, but again, I have more assets that I need to maintain. I have 5 times as many. Yeah.
You know, I know you guys specialize in LTL, and when I think about LTL, I think about there's a long haul, and then there's local drivers. Local drivers know they're going to be home every night.
Correct.
And I think we kind of build in some flexibility when I have that long haul guy. He drops off at a terminal. he can schedule his day. He knows how his day is going to go. He's going to drop off at a terminal. The local drivers say, yep, I'm going to be home no matter what. It might take me an extra hour. I think that's a good model for truckload too. If I could get to the place where I say, I'm a long haul driver. I drive from Chicago to LA, but I'm on a very predictable schedule. I never find myself really off schedule.
Right.
I drop off at a terminal, hopefully a few hours outside of LA, so I don't have to drive in.
Yep.
And then the local drivers say, I get this. I live here.
I'm used to the traffic.
I'm used to the traffic patterns. My house is here.
Yep.
It's a different world that guy lives in, and that long haul driver can have a more predictable life.
Yep, and that's ultimately where we want to take that industry, and we're trying to bring that LTL insights of the line haul movements combined with the pickup and delivery movements to full truckload. But it also requires, again, building and designing a network that can support that, right? Yep. So if I only have loads going in one direction, then I don't have that flexibility to just like, I'm going to go there and then head back.
No.
LTL, it's a lot more predictable.
Right. Well, this would speak more to having larger networks.
Correct.
And I think the largest truckload company has 2% of the market.
Yep.
And maybe at some point it's going to have 10% of the market. And
there's definitely consolidation that's happening.
Yeah. And I think that's better because we can get the density that we need.
And even if you don't have the density inside one network, imagine if you have 300 trucks, I have 500 trucks. Oftentimes those fleets will also have a brokerage, right? But imagine if you didn't need to actually have a dedicated brokerage division. You just had the ability to say both of those systems had the ability to say, hey, yeah, we want to partner together. And then on cases where it made sense, to actually merge our networks on key lanes, on key occasions, so that the systems are proactively telling you, hey, yeah, you have an imbalance here. You have 4 loads and no drivers.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Your partner company has 4 drivers or 5 drivers without loads in that same area.
Right. Every once in a while, somebody will talk about autonomous vehicles with me on the podcast. And I talked to Aurora years ago about it. And my feeling is when we finally do have it, it'll be the long haul piece of it.
Yep, and that's what everybody is. I mean, it is an easier problem for sure.
Right, and so if you could get to the place where you say, yeah, we have a whole bunch of drivers, but they work all day, but they're local. And, if I had to program a vehicle to drive cross country, I want it on the same expressway, more or less, all the time.
Right.
And, well, I guess once one truck learns it, they all learn it. But I guess my point is the long haul piece belongs to the robots, so to speak.
Yep.
And the short haul, the local part of it becomes all the drivers who are humans who can navigate all the challenges that we have with our local driving.
Yeah. So it's definitely much easier to train an autonomous truck to drive straight on between 2 lanes versus the complexities of Pittsburgh or Dallas City.
Yes.
Where it's just kind of a free-for-all. I've seen autonomous cars get into accidents several times, let alone imagining a semi on the road.
Yeah, I saw, I think that when I talked to the Aurora guys, they said we go between Houston and Dallas.
I think El Paso as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
but it's definitely in the Texas area. Yeah.
And he said back and forth. And what's a couple hundred miles? And I said, yeah, but you have no weather there.
Yeah.
Now, if you move to, say, Pittsburgh.
Hey, once every 3 years we get a snowstorm, all right?
If you move to Pittsburgh or Chicago or somewhere where there's snow and there's leaves blowing in the fall.
Exactly.
And it's a little different, but they'll get there.
Yeah. No, it's just a matter of time.
Yep. So one more time, I want to touch on, you guys are a unique layer of software.
Yes.
You're not the routing software. You're not the TMS. You're kind of helping.
We say decision support and decision automation. Yeah. Ultimately, give you the information you need to make the best decision based off of the information at hand.
But the thing is, a guy doesn't wake up today saying, oh, I need better decision support. What he knows is, I'm not making the money I'm supposed to make. We're too inefficient. I got trucks sitting around and others.
Well, I'll give you a more tangible problem. So most larger fleets will have planners that have worked there sometimes 30 plus years. And then they're the ones that are proficient in your systems, and they know it like the back of their hand. They know the network. They can schedule in their sleep. Then you got the new generation that's entering the workforce. That's like, I have to use this like old system when I'm used to like modern technology. I grew up around tech. I'm a gamer. Like good luck getting them to be as productive as your lead planner. So now they're the bottleneck of you growing your organization.
Yeah. So the tribal knowledge that we've traditionally used for this,
Mm-hmm.
and again, that's not easy to develop overnight. That's tribal knowledge. The nature of it is it's a decade of trying to figure it out.
Right. And I'm saying I could cut through that tribal knowledge in a week. Now, if I told you that, would that not pique your interest as the owner of a trucking company?
Yes, it would.
I would say that's tribal data that needs to be fed into our model to produce tribal knowledge results.
And even if you decide, hey, we're very happy with our planner, but there's a technology that's out there that is going to give them the information, and maybe they can check it against their own and go, why is there slightly different?
Yeah.
but you still have the ability to do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
But
and
you
can
should
even
have the right
evaluate.
inputs. You should have the right inputs from
you need to have a system to say, people are like, hey, clean up your data. I mean, that's such a like daunting task. You wouldn't even know where to begin. But if I gave you a system that says, hey, this is the best assignment, and you're like, no, it's not. How did you come up with that? And then gave you the information of, hey, I came up with this for XYZ reason. And it's like, oh, well, you said your operating hours are wrong. Well, let me just go check. Oh, maybe I have operating hours wrong across a lot of places. Maybe I have duplicate locations. So now I have a system that gives me a suggestion of this is what you should do. If I see that it's bad, it can point me to what's actually bad. And then I can run an AI process or machine learning process to sift through that data and say, hey, you have this, but you've done it this other way. So the data probably should be that.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right to say, though, the younger generation coming into the workforce, their assumption is there's always going to be a technology for that. And by the way, I'm not young at all. Mm-hmm. My feeling is that all the time. Every time my team runs into
there's an
something,
app for that, right? That's
every time my team says we can't do this, I was like, go online and find a tool for that, because I can't believe we're doing that manually. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, there's always something out there that somebody's working on.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there is an app for that. We've built it. Right. Now it's just a matter of getting the industry to trust it. And people are like, oh, you're a LTL company. I'm like, we weren't always an LTL company. The same way we weren't always an airline company. In the same way, like, we were always a rail company. So, but like we've transitioned because our models are very versatile. At the end of the day, we just view it as a network. Like, we call it a time-space network. That's the data structure that we use to model like our solution. And it can be applied in various different modes.
So I know you guys have ROI on this. How are companies, what ROI are they seeing with implementing your solutions?
I mean, sometimes we've seen, so we did a pilot for one company that had about 600 drivers, like big in the CPG space. 900 total drivers, 600 active on any given day. A big meet and turn relay network. Drivers home every night. We were able to cover the same amount of freight with 100 less drivers. Think about that. It was almost unbelievable. We had to run it several times. So what is the ROI of that? Like, that's like almost a 20% reduction in your like driver costs. Now, I'm not saying fire 100 drivers, but guess what? You're going to have natural attrition. Now,
it gives you the ability to grow your business also with drivers that you have.
Exactly. And we have a 5 times ROI guarantee. So that means like if we charge you $100 or $1,000, we have to prove that we can generate $5,000 worth of value. Otherwise, we will enhance the product to unlock that value, or we will reduce the price. So it's really a no-brainer for a fleet.
So how does this implement? So when I work with Optym, where do I interact with it? Is it inside my transportation management system?
Yeah, so we actually have a special relationship with Trimble, and especially if you have, I would say, one of the newer version of TMW Suite, where we can actually embed Load AI like from within the application. So there's what we call swivel chair. You're not moving from one monitor to another. You can actually just stay within, and there's a Load AI tab, and you can access our application there. Let's say you're not, then still, like, we have the ability to have data flow through what they call their Trimble Transportation Cloud, which is like their common integration platform that they've been working on for a while. So we'll actually have one of the sessions here today or over the next 2 days showcasing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're getting this enormous ROI for these companies. How long does it take from the time your salesman says, "Yep, these guys want to do it," till the time they're seeing?
Till they're actually using it
Yeah.
up and running. Our fastest implementation from first touch point to like deployment was like 2.5 months.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of companies that are really suffering in this down market. Ever since COVID,
Yep.
We've been in a freight recession, and I don't know when it's going to end. Hopefully 2026. But if you're one of those companies, you're looking for solutions.
Absolutely.
And Optym is one of them.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, it's not about like, yes, I can cut costs, I can fire people, I can let go of drivers, or I can like squeeze more juice out of all of those people, all of those drivers, which is really the approach that we take to it.
Nobody wants anybody let go, but the nature of it, if you're working for a company that doesn't make any money, you're going to get let go at some point, because somebody's going to be using Optym down the street, and they're going to.
Yeah, but guess what? You're not going to be letting go of your rock stars.
Right.
Right. Now, if I said I could take everybody and I can make them as good, if not better than your rock star, why would you say no to that?
Right. Well, and also, I think every driver who's in a company potentially has a better lifestyle because of Optym.
Oh, absolutely. If I just had to hit a button and then I got the results, or I say, I don't like this, rerun it with like different settings. Now it's a much more like drag and drop game rather than, crap, how do I figure out this puzzle, this complicated math problem with pen and paper?
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking the solution is impacts on different levels. Obviously, there's the shippers. They have to be happy. And I'm sure they're happier when there's more predictability and better
service,
yeah.
Right?
And then for the trucking companies, they obviously want better service, but they want to make some money. And for the drivers, I just think it's a lifestyle where your lifestyle can sometimes be really crazy in this business.
Yep.
And I live not too far from a retailer, and I see trucks show up there and spend the night. They get there at 7 o'clock at night and they spend the night there. And I always think, that sucks.
Yep.
I wouldn't want that. I don't want that for anybody.
Predictability. If I told you exactly how your week is going to go and it went that way, like every driver would love that. But if I said every single day there's going to be some problem and then the plan is going to change, then it's going to be hell.
I've had drivers on my podcast and they say this: you have a plan for the day, and then you're driving and you hit traffic, the plan changes. Then you hit a weather event, plan changes. Oh, hit traffic again, plan changes. I get to the dock, they can't load me or unload me, one or the other, plan changes. So they're planning their whole day, but it's also being interrupted all day long. And so if we can give them just a little more of a sure thing.
One last thing that changes, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to wrap this bad boy up.
Let's do it.
We're going to go to the keynote speech right after this.
And I'm going to get some coffee.
Exactly. So I'm talking to my friend Shaman Ahuja, and we're talking about the Optym Advantage, smarter routing, planning, and decision making. And so you guys, again, new class. I'm going to summarize. I want your final thoughts. So you guys have kind of a new class of software, and it's a layer that I don't typically talk about. It's not mapping your next lane. It is how to run your business, how to run your 200 trucks, your 600 trucks, so you can make more money and have all the advantage we just talked about. I think what's interesting about what we talked about is the guarantee I'm going to guarantee ROI. So I'm going to get 5 times on my money no matter what. It takes a few months to implement. And right now, there's companies who aren't making any money. And we hear it all the time. I mean, the trucking companies are going out of business. There's going to be more bankruptcies in 2026, they say. And somehow we got to get around that. Somehow we got to save this industry. And I think it's going to be with software.
Absolutely.
And so you guys will tell them or help them set up relay and hook, relay, drop and hook.
Yep.
What you call this other meet and turn.
Meet and turn.
You're gonna get them running this much more efficiently in a way that your tribal people can't possibly get to.
Yeah.
And
it starts with visibility. It's really, we're just showing you, this is the layout, this is what your network looks like.
Yeah.
This is like when you actually expect to like complete this work. This is where your drivers will be. So once you factor in where are things now, and I gave you a system that could actually tell you best position your assets for where they should be tomorrow,
Yep.
then all of that will have a compounding effect. Each, like, that's 1 point here, 1 point there, and before you know it, like, now you're closer to that 90 OR.
I like it. I like it. So put a big old bow on this one. Shaman, final thoughts on the topic.
Yes. So, like, Optym, I would say, when you think of optimization, when you think about getting more, squeezing that juice in your network that you know is there, or unlocking that potential, think about us. And the best way, if you're afraid to just jump into a marriage, we have the ability to just take offline pilots. We'll say, give us your data, we'll run the model, and then show you the value that can be generated. And then through a partnership with Trimble, it should be a very seamless onboarding process, almost like a flip of a switch. And I assure you, if you're not proficient within 1 week of using the system and you don't love it, then you can walk away, no strings attached.
Yep. And one other thing we should mention, is cybersecurity, freight fraud, all that stuff is very important to people these days for good reason. Mm-hmm. And I think being part of the Trimble ecosystem is kind of the good housekeeping badge of approval, because they aren't going to take chances. You need to partner with companies that can make the investments in all the different securities that are necessary to keep us safe these days.
Yeah, and we've been around 25 years and work with many multi-billion-dollar enterprises. So we're not new to security, and
Right.
almost every large fleet asks us that exact same question.
Hallelujah! I'm glad they're asking.
250 question survey before they even start to engage with us. So we're definitely, like, that is not something you need to worry about us.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I think there's still a lot of small tech companies out there, and I worry for them, and I worry about some of their customers.
Yeah, they're one attack away from going bankrupt.
Yep. Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll make sure I put a link to your LinkedIn profile, link to your website, link to anything you and your go-to-marketing team gives me, I'll put in the show notes.
Oh, we have tons of content.
All right. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out. Pleasure talking with you today.
All right, man.
All right.
And thank all of you for listening to my podcast. Your support's very much appreciated. Until next time, onward and upward. You have been listening to the Logistics of Logistics podcast, where we engage with leaders in the logistics and supply chain community. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen. Also, please check out our videos on YouTube and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very big on LinkedIn. And you can also reach us on the logisticsoflogistics.com, our website.